Alright guys, welcome to yet another basement battle here on the channel. Before I dig into the first deck tech, let me quickly tell you about my new YouTube membership program. Become a YouTube Baron and you can get access to videos ahead of schedule and members only video that I'm publishing after Metagame Monday every Monday. That's going to basically be my suggestions and actual cards to evaluate and whether to remove or put into your deck in the week to come based on the data from the Metagame Monday video. So whether you want access to that, you want early access to videos, or you simply want to say thank you for my content, that is a great way to do it. Thank you so much for your attention. Now, let's get into things here. As always, I'll be playing 3 decks versus 3 decks of Brian's. I am taking inspiration from my members over on Metafy, and Brian is taking inspiration from his over on Patreon. And then we end up playing decks that are basically outside of the top 15 on Goldfish. So I really wanted to play Dredge for a while, and I think this is a pretty darn good way to do it. Mathis has been rushing with Dredge. It's been mainly a one-person deck for a while, but I could maybe change that today. Well, the Dredge mechanic, we are running a ton of Dredgers here between Stinkweed Imp, Golgari Thug, and Golgari Grave Troll. We're trying to get those into our graveyard, then draw cards, replace the draws with dredges, and then find free stuff to do. So for this version, that is going to be Narcomoebas, that is going to be Poxwalkers, and we are hopefully going to be attacking with a lot of hasted creatures at some point. So let's quickly see here. This enters tapped. So Poxwalkers is mainly a way to loop Cabal Therapy and Dread returns with Bridge from Below, then all the zombies gain haste, and we kind of get our combo finish that way. We also have Ox of Agonas, which is a pretty good card to get into the graveyard, very similar to activating Cephalid Colosseum. So ideally, you start the game with one of these cards, fill the yard, and then you kind of explode with the second time you cast a draw spell. Lionside Imon turbos out some absurd turn ones, like cast looting, flashback looting, dredge your deck, attack with a million zombies. I would imagine is very, very possible. Cabal Therapy can clear the way. Mainly mid, dredging, but also early with the one Underground Sea we can fetch. You should just see this as a blistering fast aggro deck that's hoping that a single Cabal Therapy or two can kind of make sure the opponent doesn't beat our big board. Sideboard is all about making sure we handle hate cards and we are ready against other graveyard decks. So we see cards like Shenanigans, Dismissal, into the Floodmaw, handling opposing hate, and then I guess Unmask for opposing combo decks. This deck is sweet. Let's see if Brian is ready for it. All right, let's play some Magic the Gathering. Welcome to the basement battle. I'm playing Dredge. My hand looks to have awesome potential. No Dredger, though, which is sad to see. So I think I'm supposed to go fetch Basic Island, cast Gaze, because that actually looks 3 card deep for a Dredger. And then I can go Pedal, Looting, and get us going. I guess the 3rd barrel is then the Breakthrough. I think that's how I'm supposed to play. Fetch Basic Island, cast Gaze. Ooh, Brian's on a Molda 5, which is good news for me in case I, don't get there. It also severely limits the chance that I'll be met by any kind of force here. My sense of urgency is a little bit higher here, though, when it comes to, losing to a combo deck. See what this is. Gaze. So I should put every one of these into the yard. Then I should Pedal, Looting. Dredge to Thug. If I have a Dredger in top 4, I love my chances. If I don't, we might have a game. I do. Okay, so now the game is almost impossible, I would say, for Brian to win. So, because I'll get Amoebas, I have a bridge. I guess the Dread Return, I'll dump that as well. Oh, I'm only discarding 2 cards. I'm clowning a little bit here. I don't know why I was in discard 3 mode. Probably Bizarre Baghdad from Vintage, to be honest. I'm gonna cast this Cabal Therapy. I wonder what I should name here. I should probably name something that kills me quickly. Let me name Dark Ritual. Brian is playing on here. Okay, this is cool. So he is in fact a combo deck. Yep, no Dark Ritual. So I should name Lion's Eye Diamond here. And then Brian will still have the chance to get back into this game. Gaze, looting, pass. So let's see if we can narrow it down to the actual hand here. Saga. So this is Talent, I guess. And then Brian has to survive this turn. Let's see if we can make sure that's not going to happen. Let's break through. That should be more or less the whole deck. 6, 5, 6, 5. Discard my whole hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, my opponent's last card is the last card is the Echo, but I need to see if I can find a million creatures here. Can I do anything smart? Because discarding that card is not good. How do I think I just have to make enough power that I'm winning on the next turn. So basically, what is that? Dread Return onto a troll, sacrificing that, and that. Maybe I missed damage here, actually. I think I missed damage. Because I don't have haste, because I didn't, what's it called? I didn't, you know, fetch Volcanic Island, so getting to the anger is not a play. Well, I don't think I have much to do here. I can attack for 2 and hopefully win the game next turn. Brian needs to draw exactly Lion's Eye Diamond. And then we have a game. I'm not sure. Could I have done anything about that? I guess no, I don't think so. I forgot about the loot here. All right. So now there's a party going on with Echo of Eons getting looted for the talent. Okay, okay. Huh. I mean, that's magic. So if I wasn't hedging for Wasteland, since my opponent mulliganed to 5, I would be in way better shape here, because then I could have animated the Ox, stretched my whole deck, and won with Anger, giving haste. So I basically played around Wasteland against a mull to 5 while having a very, very good hand. So even if I get Wastelanded, I still get to, you know, tap the island once and have the pedal. So very cool. Very cool. I think Maphis would have won this game. All right. Here's the draw 7. So the talent milling over the Echo. Pretty sweet combo. So at the very least, Brian has another Echo here in the chamber. Unfortunately, I'm not the Force Days version that I saw some time ago from Mathis. Maybe I should, in case Brian has some kind of counterplay, maybe I should not F6 here. Quantum Riddler. Oh. Let's see. So that is going to make Echo into a draw 8, I believe. Draw 8 with 1 mana up. So hopefully there's nothing Brian can do here. Like between the loot and the draw 7. Oh, we have to discard first. Never mind. All right, so it looks like we're losing a game that seemed unlosable. That's sweet. Always want those on camera. Want to highlight why you should play better. So I like when playing well is the difference between winning and losing, essentially. So the opponent's a blue-red storm deck that utilizes the graveyard a lot. Should I bring in ley lines against that deck? I'm thinking yes. I don't think that deck will be playing a ton of graveyard hate. So maybe I can just dilute my own deck a little bit and add ley lines. Unmask also seems good, but I'm not sure I can do that. But I really want to fit the ley lines. I feel like that's a big part of what the deck is doing. Nice Spider-Man card here. I hear there's an updated version of this one coming out soon. Stock up. I guess that's just... Wait a minute. Is Brian gasping for air here? Or is there more left in the tank? I guess I was just sure I was dead there. That's not fun. I want the Storm deck to win this game because the Dredge player didn't play well. Okay. Let's go. Lionside Diamond. What did Ryan draw off of the Lionside Diamond? Are we going again with the draw 7? I think if Brian already had the draw 7, playing out second talent might not be optimal. But then again, I'm not a Dredge player, and I'm certainly not a Killer Bee player. Okay. Grape Shot getting discarded. Funnily enough, I'm at 19. So, Brian with 2 new cards. No imprint. Because Brian needs those cards to keep digging. So now I need to fade 2 more draws. Maybe I need to fade more draws because of zeros. Rite of Flames and what have you. Discarding Grape Shot here is a little bit curious. Because if you had worse cards, you could just discard those and then see if you get there naturally with 19 Storm. Here's because now the opponent is 1 off. If they kept they kept the grape shot, but I might be missing something here. All right, now the game is over. That was a cool one. A little bit of making me sweat there, and certainly punishing me hard for the basic island move. Because this is just to say that this is not like, oh, hindsight or whatever. This was just an objectively bad play, because if my opponent is playing a deck that has Wasteland in a 5-card hand, my spot is amazing, because I get to tap the island once, tap the pedal once, and that's like pretty explosive when it comes to dredging and stuff. So if the opponent spends their time wasting, that's totally reasonable. It's a lot bigger concern to actually finish the job and lose to some crazy stuff from the top of the opponent's deck. So yeah, great learning and nicely executed by Brian. Imagine he doesn't draw the pedal there, and I didn't, you know, I don't get a chance to talk about why it was bad. It's just a lot of missed learnings and, you know, making bad plays in Magic. So yeah, that's how it should be. Let's try and think about what is actually crucial. Ripping the opponent's hand apart seems important. So what would that be? Something like an explosive turn 1 and therapy. Yeah, therapies are very, very good. Now the question is if I want to unmask. I think unmask and leyline are... that's too much. How important is the haste? Maybe I can cut like a Dread Return, Ox. Now the question is Anger a cuttable card? Anger seems like super reasonable with all the tokens. But then again, I need to get to actually lethal before the card matters. I'm going to try to sideboard. Oh, I need to cut one more. But I'm going to try and sideboard out the Anger and see if that works. Maybe I can sideboard out Basic Mountain. I don't think that is crucial. Okay, let's try this. I'm actually unsure what kind of graveyard hate a Storm deck would be running, if any. Okay, so I have a little bit of an all-in hand here, but I think that's totally fine. Let's keep this, put a leyline into play. If they do the same, we're done. So I basically don't think they will be a leyline deck. But then again, thinking about the artist talent, maybe that's why you should be a leyline deck, because that card allows you to loot. Okay, I may have failed to put together 2+2 here. If Brian has a leyline, the game is just over. Looks like Brian has a leyline. All right, that's gonna do it for match 1. Let's keep playing. All right, next up is Grixis Wizards, which is essentially a take on the already, you know, nichely played Jeskai Wizards deck that I like. This is just with black instead of white. So we get a downgrade in our removal, we get an upgrade in our disruption, and then we get Orcish Bowmasters and Kaito, which are just very, very cool tools. We are a cantrip Tamiyo deck that is using Thundertrap Trainer and Tamiyo to enable Flame of Anor to be an absurd spell instead of just a, you know, lukewarm spell. Couple of dress downs for opposing Saga. You know, we're a non-wasteland deck, so we need some coverage against Urza's Saga. Murktide Regent to finish off games. So this deck will play a control role in most games, but we can also, you know, put on the pressure with Kaito and or Murktide Regent. Molten Collapse is a flexible removal spell that just kill a lot of things. Chalice of the Void, Flip Tamiyo, stuff like that. Sideboard has some very, very predictable stuff when it comes to blue and red. All of these blasts against colorless blue and red. Negation to Shore Up combo. Barragoyf against fair stuff. Surgical to handle the graveyard. And then one more copy of Molten Collapse for the aforementioned cards. This deck should be pretty well-rounded, except for playing against big mana. So let's see if we can dodge that and teach Brian a lesson here. All right, round 2 here of the basement battle. I'm playing Grixis Wizards. This is a keep. No red mana. But I do have some draw steps and a Thoughtseize to keep me warm. I'm on the draw here. We usually alternate play draw for the matches. So what I do is I randomize my order before doing my deck techs. Because in theory, you could be like if you wanted to game the system, there could be something like playing first with your Chalice deck, or make sure that you don't play second with your Chalice deck and your Daze deck or what have you, and by placing them strategically. So I just randomize. Ooh, it looks like Brian is a very, very bad boy today. Very, very bad boy. Is this Dredge? That would be hilarious. This is Dredge. Love to see it. Well, I don't have a Force of Will, so go for it, buddy. If I have a Force of Will or Force of Negation here, the game is over. But instead, it's going to be over in the other direction. All right. So let's concede here because Brian will build a huge board and then he will sacrifice Cabal Therapy. All right. Playing against Dredge is scary. We do have some cards that are funnily solid. Now let's see what kind of cards are simply just worthless. Something like Fatal Push seems incredibly bad. Yeah. My notepad is out for sure here, Brian. Flame of Anor seems very bad. It's basically just I need to control Brian's graveyard, and if that works, then quote unquote nothing else matters. So now let's cut a bunch of cards that certainly doesn't help with that, and add a lot of cards that do. So now let's just quickly. I don't need all of my lands against a situation like this. Let's see how valuable. Second Swamp is probably atrocious. We can cut Second Swamp. So flames are, blue cards in my 6/4 setup. That's playable. Is Baragoi good against Dredge? It's probably better than Bowmasters. Bowmasters seems quite bad. But now I have Murktide and Baragoi that will end the game once we kind of establish not losing, essentially. And Sign to Memory counters LED. I don't even know if that's anything worth writing home about. And add like one of those. Let's see, does Dress Down do anything? Probably not. Okay, let's try this out. So Brian doesn't know anything about my deck, but he's up a game. That's essentially the trade-off here. I would much rather be in his spot. Blistering fast games. Turn 0 kill, turn 1 kill. That's high-level Magic. Magic can be over in a blink of an eye. Yeah, I'm really not sure about this consign. I mean, countering an LED is like... Yeah, I mean, it could be the difference between stopping my opponent and the opponent going nuts. All right, this hand is great against Dredge. I have turn 1 Thoughtseize, and I have Force of Negation. Let's grab Underground Sea here. You have some red cards in the deck, but we can get those later. Brian, a dirty boy with Brian, a dirty boy with a Lionside Diamond X2. So let's see. Maybe I'm supposed to take this Lionside Diamond. If I take the Lionside Diamond, Brian will probably therapy himself. I would rather have the therapy exiled. It's like a tiny tiebreaker. So this is a little bit annoying. The Underground Sea enables Cabal Therapy on himself. Now, Brian's real choice is whether to simply pass the turn without doing anything here, because then next turn he'll go to 8 and discarding the troll. And this way, Brian will isolate counters in my hand and actually get to Dredge, get to Colosseum, and can beat me that way. So very, very scary situation here for me. I need to find a surgical. I'm actually in trouble if Brian passes the turn here. The only good thing is Brian doesn't know what I'm playing, and when I Cabal Therapy, when I Thought Tasted Lion side, looks like I have no way to counter. So thankfully that narrative was thick enough that Brian went for it here. Now I think it's all about finding a clock before Ryan goes to 8 and all of that jazz. Let's cast Brainstorm with the intention of fetching and okay, this is great. I put back Brainstorm, Preordain, fetch Volcanic Island, Preordain, and here's a land. That's cool. So let's just draw the land and not take the Pyro. Let's see if that's a mistake. The thing is, I'm tap out this turn, and I will tap out next turn. So the Pyro is, down the line playable. Forgot about the hardcast Thug in the meantime. Okay, this is not a Thug. Is this Breakthrough for 1? Wow, that's great. What a great draw. Yes, we could be swimming with the fishes here, because Brian is going to have a full graveyard with a Cephalid Colosseum. And multiple different dredgers here, so I cannot even, do anything smart with surgical. All right, what a performance. Thoughtseize, negation, surgical, not close to enough. That's cool. Here's Tamiyo. Yeah, I wonder what my plan is here. I actually don't think I have any. Play Baragoyf, and then what? I should probably do this now. Looks like no sideboarding from Brian for this game. Okay. Pass. And let's see. We should be dead here. It's just a matter of how. Okay. Upkeep Thug into Imp, into Imp. Draw step. So, yep, there's the draw step. And this card can block. The opponent gets tokens, and yeah, Baragoyf looking quite embarrassing. Here's the land drop we knew about. Dredger in hand. So Flame of Anor. Flame of Anor doesn't do anything right now. It's funny that if I had one more land, I could have killed my own Tamiyo, I think. Maybe not. Yeah, I could have killed my own Tamiyo. Remove the bridges. The opponent will block, dredge the rest of their library. So I guess Flame of Anor is some kind of magic card here because it can make target player draw 2 cards. I don't know. That's very, very unrealistic. The opponent can dredge 15, 20. That's not enough. Anger is there, but there's no mountain in play. I'm basically trying to win a game where I get to deck my opponent, but it's just not realistic because of Cabal Therapy. Maybe I should have held up the mana here. I don't know. I don't think that's even a thing. There's Cabal Therapy. That's very, very good. So now, oh, there's two. Okay. I was about to say I need there to only to be one Cabal Therapy because it's very hard for the opponent to hit on this card. Also, there's Dread Return. I missed the Flood Maw when I was going through the deck. I thought Brian didn't sideboard, but he did bring in the Flood Moss. Let's see what the name is here. If Brian names this one, that would actually be huge. That would be awesome to see. He knows it's not Murktide. He knows it's not Barrogoyf. Would have played Bowmasters. I think he can narrow it down to, you know, not a relevant card. Name's Brainstorm, sure. So now Brian has to get rid of this card. Oxwalker is bouncing back and forth. Flame of an Oregon. And now Dread Return onto what? Ox? Brian needs to be in a situation where he can get the job done with the creatures before decking. So I'm not sure drawing 3 cards here is going to be nice. The trolls are gone. Unclear. But Dread Return should be very nice because it just gives a million zombies. Double bridge, I believe. Triple bridge. So 9 zombies. From sacrificing effectively just an Archamoeba since the Poxwalkers come right back. Let's see the target on the Dread Return. Yeah, I love it. Targeting Stinkweed Imp. That's a cool one. Doesn't want any funny business with decking. Flame of Anor. That was a puncher's chance at some point. Another Dread Return just to spawn zombies, essentially. I don't play a deck with engineered explosives, so this is unfortunately more than good enough. Getting in there with the 2 zombies from last turn, passing. And good games. All right, one more match remaining to save a little bit of honor. Guys, 4 seasons, and I have great plans for 2026. I present you my own tournament series. It's going to consist of 4 Eco Championship qualifiers throughout the year. Here are the details. Here's the entry fee. It's going to be free for all members over on Metafy. Hundreds of Chester chests, 2 4 seasons main event tickets up for grabs, or you can cash them in for chests if you don't plan on going to the event. And the top 8 of each of these will qualify for the Eco Championship, the end-of-year finals, which will be a 32-player event. Here are all the details. Of course, going to be free entry if you won your slot. There's going to be 1,000 treasure chests in total. You're going to be winning your own championship playmat with artwork by Adriano Kitani. You'll make it in collaboration with Adriano. Adriano does beautiful art on my channel here. I will pay for 4 high-quality playmats so you can play with your own trophy playmat after winning. And then the top 8 from this tournament will qualify for the following year's championship, which will then be a 40-player tournament. So yeah, I'm very excited for 2026, and I hope to see you over there on Metafy to take part in this awesome tournament series. Thank you to 4 Seasons for sponsoring this. All right, rounding out the gauntlet here with the Mere Reanimator, which is a little bit ironic for multiple reasons. So first of all, this deck is now a sub 1% deck in Legacy. It used to be a 20% deck crushing every weekend. But now, without Entomb, we have to play fair. And for anybody who watched my content recently or else followed Brian's content, know that we both really, really like this deck. We worked on it before Eternal Weekend EU, and Brian was even so happy about it that he played it at 2 Eternal Weekends. So this is going to be a little bit of a fun one when I'm trying to flip the table on Brian here. My recent innovation to the deck is adding the second Bitter Triumph. Simply, there's enough creatures and walkers in Legacy that this card is viable as a discard outlet. Imagine, tons of lands, tons of Cloud Post. Then, we cannot run 2 of this card. And then I also added a third copy of Tainted Indulgence in the place of the 2 Roiling Dragonstorm. I think with 4 Oakish Bowmasters in my sideboard, I really value my looting card to be instant speed. But yeah, other than that, cantrips, Tamios, Thoughtseizes, Forces, a couple of Murktides. I do like that card, as you may have noticed. And then, of course, the reanimation package, 2 copies of Enemy Dead, which I actually do like because we will take a pounding from a lot of decks. So having a non-life loss reanimation spell is good. In the mana base, you can easily argue these wastelands should be something like a colored source. For now, I think 2 wastelands are playable. It's a little bit painful it doesn't cast Tainted Indulgence. But let's see. It's basically a hedge against Urza's Tower and Planar Nexus being magic cards. Sideboard will have a 13-card Juke against a lot of fair blue stuff, and then it's going to have a 2 Consign to Memory against Eldrazi, Mystic Forge, Storm decks, stuff like that. So I'm pretty excited about this. I added the 4th Bowmaster recently. I think 3 is a good number for Baragorth, and then simply just Fatal Push, bunch of energy and Cradle Control and Delver style decks, just Tameo decks in general. So removal spells are good. Mystical Dispute, another favorite card of mine. Show and Tell, stock up, 3 mana walkers, what have you. This card will be fine. Yeah, all right. Let's take on Brian in a third and final duel. All right, third and final match of the basement battle. I am playing Dimir Reanimator, currently getting crushed. Let's see if we can do a little bit better this game. Okay, so what can this hand do? This hand will probably fetch a Surveil land and take our options from there. I feel like playing Bloodstained Mire gives off the least information about what's about to come. Let's see. Greensun Zenith or Dryad Arbor. Huh. Out of a tropical. Let's see if we can do anything cool here. Tameo. So I can play Tameo and flip Tameo on the next turn. That should probably be better than a lot of plays. Play Tameo. Brainstorm. Okay. And then I can present Atraxa next turn. How do I do that? So I should probably just put back 2 lands. Very unlikely my opponent is gonna look at my hand, but maybe we should just put the reanimate here for good measure. So let's see, how am I gonna play next turn? I think I'm gonna do fetch Surveil, respond to the Surveil by casting Brainstorm and then reanimating. Okay. So put back Delta, put back reanimate. And then the point is this Tameo is kind of diversion about what's really going to happen. So hopefully my opponent can spend resources battling that card. Also, Brian, right now, will have a good idea about this being Reanimator, because we're not playing from the top of the metagame, so maybe he can narrow it down, which is annoying. Is this Witherbloom command? That's sweet. Witherbloom command, a dangerously clean answer to Tameo. Hub Liberator. Okay, so some Sultai Zenith deck. Could be a natural order deck. I'll be looking out for that one. All right, let's see if Brian remembers this play. Here's Brainstorm. Forcing that card. That's cool. Pitching Force of Will, though. Reanimate. I don't think that card makes any sense to keep. So my next turn I can Indulge and then Atraxa. Having second Reanimate, will that be good? I don't think so, especially now that Brian has shown that he's capable of countering the enablers. I should also have looked out for keeping that and then reanimating. Maybe that was better, because I could have had a Tameo into play here. Yeah, I think I botched it here. I should have kept that card on top, reanimated Tameo, played on. That was bad, wasting my mana. Now I'm drawing a random card. I mean, if I draw Force of Will, I look like a genius, but that was not a good play. Okay, the day of the bad plays. That's hopefully good for you guys at home. So now the opponent has 4 mana. Let's see. Let's see if I just die a horrible death to natural order. I don't. Okay. Explorer into a fetch land. Okay, milling. Tameo. Okay. Well, we shall try again. I wish I had a Tameo in play, though, but I wasn't strong enough. Painted Indulgence. Drawing some absolutely abysmal cards. That's funny. Spinning Atraxa. I feel like I should play around Daze, even though it's like so unlikely the opponent has Daze, but let's do it for good measure. Put Atraxa into play. I'm at 10. I do find Force Will and Thoughtseize, which is amazing. So that card, which creature to take? Murktide, sorcery, that card, land, that card. That's awesome. Take these. Fast Thoughtseize go to 8. Let's see what Brian is working with over there. Aragorn. That's funny. Aragorn in the main deck of a deck that's trying to support Force of Will, play Zenith, etc. Sure, buddy. So now I have Force Blue card and I have an 8/8 Murktide. Let's see if that can beat what Brian's got going on over there. I wish I had a Tameo in play. That was not a good play from me. Also, no Surveil Land. Interesting. Milling over Snuff Out. That's a cool one as well. So let's see. This could be an Uro deck. And that is what Brian is searching for. Okay. Lots of cards here, but it's not a Highlander deck. Another Baragorn. Another Baragorn. I think I'm supposed to let that card resolve. Then I play him. Yeah, this is fine. The opponent cannot attack here. I'll deploy Murktide Regent. And then I can bounce it. If I draw a blue card here, I'm golden. That card works as well. Huh. So I guess I should attack first here. Put my opponent to 10, then play Murktide. And Bitter Triumph. Discard a land. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the turn. And now it's time for Brian to come up with something super serious, because I have 15 in the air, so not even quote-unquote dredged Uro will do anything. Trophy. Mm-hmm. Childred's Edict. So the thing is, I've seen 2 Badger Mole Cups, and then everything else has been kind of Highlander-esque. I think this card is fine. If I draw a blue card, I can bounce it and try and win the game. Okay, Brian doesn't want to have anything to do with that. So, okay, Sultai stuff. I'm not sure what to do here. Let's see how it looks if I go fully juked. These cards are bad. In theory, 15 bad cards, which, we have to keep some of them. So I can go super fair, remove all of these cards, but I have to keep 2. I guess Reanimate is never an embarrassing card in any, like, black removal matchup. The first copy of Force of Will. That's probably solid. Okay. I think this is a decent setup. I'm, of course, not favored if it's, like, combat on combat fair, but then I'm hoping the way Brian sideboards is, can help me get a little bit of an edge. That's kind of the philosophy with this deck, that when you sideboard into this version, your opponent is probably going to have like a terrible version of their deck, and they're going to be, cantripping with that in mind and all of that jazz. Let's see if that is true. Orcish Bowmasters. I mean, we're playing against a Tamiyo Brainstorm deck, so it can't be that bad. Have to think about the Wan Shi Tong when it comes to searching my library. Just saying it out loud, so it's more likely I don't miss it. As always, thanks so much for watching these, guys. It's always exciting to see what Brian brought to battle and to make some bad plays, so you guys know how not to play next time you play. Pretty clean looking list here post sideboard. The indulgences are certainly not impressive, but everything else is like super solid. Some of my favorite draws are just like Thoughtseize Push, Tamiyo, Bowmasters, and then just a Murktide or a Baragorn at the end of the rainbow. Those kind of draws are always cool. All right, up a game. Brian will go first. This hand looks fine. Also, my opponent is a recursive Wasteland deck, so I can think about playing from basics here early. I'm pretty sure I'm pushing more or less anything Brian does here, including this card. But let me have a think about that. Fatal Push on the Arbor. That could be very short-sighted. That could be very, very unexciting. Maybe I need a little bit more, because I'm not really capitalizing on the mana situation. So if I play Bloodstained, my opponent plays a blue spell. I'll need to dispute off of Underground Sea, which is annoying. But I think that's way less likely than I could just get basic Swamp. I'm playing into the Wan Shi Tong here. But maybe it's hard for the opponent to develop stuff that I want to push and hold up that card. Okay, so it looks like Brian has that card. If Brian passes here, he has that card. So now I have to play smart. So if I go... If I play like this, I'll try and get Brian with a dispute here. Yeah, Here comes the owl, I believe. So worth noting is I opened myself up to Veil of Summer by playing like this. But if Brian had Veil of Summer, I simply don't think he attacks with the Arbor. Let's see if I'm right about that. Try and counter the Tong here. We're basically fighting over whether Brian should draw a card here or not. So now it's very likely that I get wastelanded. So what I could do is just kill the Arbor. Let's try that. So a little bit of battling for position here, which is always cool. Ooh, Brian stops playing the game now. Okay. Okay. Reanimating that card seems fine, but not insane. Maybe I should cast this Indulgence. Draw 2, discard 1. Highly unimpressive, but gotta do what you gotta do. Discard Surveil Land. Fetch C. Reanimate the Tong, which is something that dies to Wither Bloom. But I think it's fine to just spend my mana here. If Brian has Wither Bloom, he can kill that and return a land, which is a very good spell. Okay, Brian found a land here. Lovely. I did not think that deck was a Brazen Borrower deck, but I guess that's the point about the deck. That is probably the darn point about the deck. 5 cards. All right. Let's cast Brainstorm, see if we can find something better to do. So maybe I should put back... Tainted Indulgence, Orcish Bowmasters. Cast Thoughtseize, see if I could find a big creature for reanimating. Let's see. If I take the bear... What about this card? Now the question is, which card is kind of crushing me? Baragorth should be doable. Maybe it's this card. What if I take that card and Thoughtseize and reanimate it? Take that card and reanimate it. I feel like my opponent now has to force a will reanimate. Explorer is gone. Force pitch. Okay. That's fair. Pass. So I had a good trade here. Thoughtseize and reanimate for Force, Wan, Chutong, and the Explorer. So now Brian's line is about drawing a blue card and then playing this one with backup. Which I do like. That's a perfectly fine play. So let's see, what should I do here? Should I Bowmaster? If I Bowmaster and I get forced, maybe that's okay. And if it resolves, pushes on. Let's tap like this, because even if I do get wastelanded, I, can float the mana, get revolt, all of that jazz. So now Brian's move is probably to force a will this fatal push, then I untap and I can bitter. And then we kind of play the game from there. Let's see if I'm right about that. Brian must be thinking about this revolt. Let's just get rid of it. Okay. That happens. Yeah, I should have waited until the end step. I'm playing a little bit sloppy here. I'm sorry about that. Because there's nothing happening here, and revolt is on, and now I'm basically informing Brian's main phase for no reason. But I guess, you know, when I block there, I guess he knows. Oh, wow. Yes, getting rid of that card. Returning a land. Milling Cling to Dust, worth noting. The Bowmaster's down. There may or may not be a blue card in Bosch's hand here. I kind of feel like he would have fought over the push, but who knows? Here's Tainted Indulgence that I knew about. Cast Ponder. Find Baragoyf. So if I Thought Season now, and Baragoyf next turn, there's maybe a window. I feel like I should take the Zenith and accept getting forced. Could be wrong. It's pretty... was a pretty hard decision, actually. And now Brian is, you know, looking to end step the Brazen. Let's see if this works. If you drew a blue card, it doesn't work. Was that a fatal push getting drawn? That would have been brutal. Oh, Cling to Dust in response. Okay, so Desperation Time. That's another jab at finding the blue card. I do like that. Maybe get rid of Bowmaster. No, you need to draw a card, so it cannot be the creature. Yeah, who knows? Fling on a Ponder. Blue card found. Halfling with the intention of keep drawing, I guess. So now, is this a draw two? I have 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3 in the graveyard, which is funny. So it's not a draw two. Let's see if we can find a relevant card here. The thing is, the Bowmasters is quite good. So now, if the opponent Brazens, I'll kill it right away. Kill the flyer. Playing Halfling versus Bowmasters. I have a hard removal, which is cool. I'm looking to draw a big creature before the dust settles. I can't really attack. Okay, playing out a land. Yeah, the opponent is unfortunately like a Green Sun Zenith deck, and things can go very wrong. Oh, wow. The problem is the Cling to Dust, which is really funny. So actually, I have no moves here. I could go to 6 and start attacking for 2. I don't think that's a play. And also, I think we're just in an eye staring contest. I don't. If Brian goes Cling to Dust to just gain 3 life, it doesn't make any sense. Did Ryan attack here? That's kind of my question. Okay, so I'll try and brainstorm into something like Murktide or Aragoyf and what have you. Okay, Force of Will is good next turn, which is interesting. So, maybe the Reanimate is just not good, period. So do like this. And then attack with the army. Ping to give a little bit of extra damage here. I think I have to get going. Let's see if Bosch is willing to cling in response. I should have actually considered that. And maybe kept the Reanimate. I'll play out the land here in case I need to Bitter Triumph in response to some discard spells or what have you. So here comes the deck thinning. Been a while since we've seen that. Maybe Bosch is in the market for gaining 3 with the Cling. Not yet. Double thinning. Draw a card. Wasteland the draw. Okay. Wasteland is not atrocious here. So let's think. My next draw is Force of Will, which does nothing. If I go to 6 to kill that creature, I can commence the beatdown, and I'm incentivizing Bosch to start gaining life with Cling, which could open up for that Reanimate that I have underneath the Force. Wow. Great scenario. So no matter what, I shouldn't do it now, because I'm not going to use my mana next turn regardless. Oh, this is tough. Kill that, double the clock, but then, you know, any new creature kind of cooks me. Magic is a tough game. I'm just going to attack for 2 here. Oh. Not time to gain 3 yet. Here's the Reanimate. Doesn't do anything. I like my position, but I can't really slam the door. This looks like gain 3 territory. Escape the Cling onto Aragoyf. Yes. The opponent's at 11. So this is kind of my concern, that this buffer will get the opponent into the game. But I think I have to trust Bitter Triumph and Force of Will, so either land or blue card completes me the force. But this is tough. The opponent has a bunch of good draws here, I would bet. Also, I forgot to score if I'm up 1-0 or... Let's see if we can figure that out. Yeah, it looks like we have a game 3 to go here if I don't get there. Yes, that works. Killing a Bowmasters, getting back Wasteland. The land is now an atrocious draw, where before this play, the land was a decent draw. All right, so now I can reanimate Bowmasters. Is that even good? Reanimate Bowmasters. Will I then force the Cling? If I reanimate Bowmasters, force the Cling, attack for 3, my opponent's at 7, then I still have Bitter Triumph later. Maybe this is where I kind of go for gold. It just looks like maybe Tameo is too good of a card now. Ah, okay. Magic's very hard. I'm gonna go even slower, and I'm gonna have shields down for 1 turn. This is probably the best game we've had. Going down from Force of Will here. Let's see how that works out for him. Ah, it's rough to play in the basement. Tameo. Let us end step this bitter triumph. A3 life to kill the Tameo. My opponent's last card could be Force of Will. It's not, so it's probably Brainstorm. I'm not sure. Wow, Baragoyf. That is a sweet one. I'm going to slam Baragoyf here. The opponent's at 7. All right. Let's see what that Cling to Dust is going to do. It's going to do nothing. Let's see if Bosch can find a removal for Baragoyf. Otherwise, he could be in big, big trouble. And he doesn't want to be in big trouble. I got a little lucky there to find the Baragoyf. That deck has so many ways to, you know, wasteland me down to minimum resources that I feel like I got away with it a little bit there. Let's see if Bosch has any moves left. It's clear that he's very far behind, but now the question is if there's a way out for the deck. As in, does he have 1 copy of Finish's Deed? Can he have the perfect Brainstorm and kill, you know, the Orc and the Baragoyf? Like, is there any chance? That's basically what we're playing for here. Magic is a lot of these giving yourself the chance to, you know, hit the gold. But let's see. Maybe he just drew a card that makes it a lot more simple. Green Sun Zenith X3. I couldn't even tell you what I think that's going to be. Which is funny. The worth noting is Brian still has up 4 mana for the Cling. This could be Uro. So escaping Uro after... And then I guess I killed a halfling. The opponent goes to 13. Yeah, Uro would be a house here. Let's see what that deck is filled with. I'm down to... Okay, Leovold. Right. Okay, so how does this work in practice? Leovold and Bowmasters. If I ping my opponent 3 times, I will... Wait a minute. If I ping my opponent, they will just draw more cards. So they can click no, obviously. So what happens if I just ping my opponent 3 times? Then they have to stop at some point. I have no idea what to do here. So the opponent fetches away bad cards before at least drawing the first one. This is the May ability. I remember some crazy things with Leopold back in the day where in Vintage, and you cast a lethal tendrils, and then the opponent just drew, you know, a bunch of cards, and then they find Mindbreak Trap and kind of, you know, stop the tendrils. Okay, so the opponent found removal here. They're gonna draw. Here's 4 pings. So Bosch draws a lot of cards. Bosch is at 2. So let's see. Land wasn't played yet. Okay. And now there's 2 forced chump blocks, which is kind of funny. So attack with everybody. Force chumps, and then I'm gonna probably reanimate a Bowmaster. I gain 4. If I reanimate a Bowmaster, so I have a lot of lethal cards. So let's see. Is there a better creature? I think Bowmaster is fine here. Let's put Bosch to 1. Very macabre. Okay. That's a cool one. I think I'm supposed to pass the turn. And then if my opponent does something dangerous, I'll fetch to try and spike a blue card with Tameo. Very macabre. Very cool. That card is, you know, still just very good against Reanimate, the card. Brainstorm. So maybe this is where I go Force a Will. If I find a blue card. I don't. All right, go for it, Bosch. The world's your oyster. You need 2 things to stop Baragoyf and Orc Army. If it's a removal spells, it's very annoying. If it's jump blockers, that's fine. We can manage that. Pretty cool, pretty cool. We get a lot of magic for our money here. Turn 16. Classic. Here's Baragoyf. Baragoyf and passing. Very good draw. So now I feel like I can Thoughtseize to inform my attack here. Let's see if these are good. Don't veil me, buddy. Endurance. Is Endurance any good? Let's see. What happens if that resolves and I attack only with my Orc? Then Endurance will chum block. Bosch will attack. I will block Brainstorm. Okay. Let's let it resolve and see what happens. This is a great game. That's exactly why you record playing Magic the Gathering. I hope you guys are enjoying the show. I am always overwhelmed when I have to play different decks, and you know, some I've never played before, some, you know, just the mindset of what to do. I'm a little bit slow. Let's see if there's actually something left. Okay. The Zenith is left over. So let's attack with the 6/6. What I expect to just see a chum block here. Okay. That is fine. Now I'm going to have a Baragoy versus nothing. Can't really complain about that. So let's see what Bosch can draw. Bosch needs a good card, but that good card will be met by a force. Oh, I forgot about Cling to Dust, actually. Okay, we're still playing the game here. Oh, boy. So hopefully this is Cling to Dust. Cling to Dust on my Thoughtseize. You got it. Draw. Down to a 3/4 Baragoyf. Will I get blown out by that? Could very well be. Draw a card. Murktide region. Nice. Brazen Borrower and then force it on the way back. Yeah, I feel like it's time to try that. The only card that blows me out here is a Veil of Summer. Let's send the clowns here. Don't veil me, bro. Of course it will. So now connect with Goyf. What I could do is cast Brainstorm here and then use Baragoyf as my shuffle. Okay. Let's try that. So put back Tameo land. Flip. Yes. Take Bowmasters. Take up Tameo, pass. And the ball is back in Brian's court here. I do have a 3/1 on Adventure, and I have a Bowmasters coming. I also have a Tameo in play. Brian keeps playing the game like a trooper. I love it. Here's the Cling. This is like the longest game of Magic I've ever played, it feels like. That's pretty cool. Wasteland. Sure. And then 3 mana to work with to survive Baragoyf and the Bowmasters in hand. Fetch to 4. More clinging. Very well played by Brian here. I can tell you almost everybody else in the world would have been super dead at this point, so hats off. Brian is always playing at such a high level. He's so good at playing just different decks, right? That's really cool to see. My force is now removed. Another good play by Brian, because otherwise you just bring back force and can't lose, right? Let's see. Can I find lethal here? Now the question is, can I find lethal? I find lethal if I manage to put a new type into the graveyard. So maybe what I'm supposed to do here is... No, that's not it. Magic the Gathering. Such a cool game. Let's cast this Brainstorm, see what happens. That's a Ponder. But what if I keep like this? No, this doesn't really do much. I mean, Bowmasters in my hand is pretty darn good. So if I Bowmaster now, my opponent's at 1. I should probably do that. Maybe I should try and find Force of Will. Magic is too hard here. Animate's a dead card. Fatal Push, that's not gonna do it. So let's attack for 3. Put Brian to 1. See if I can find a creature. I cannot. So now I could return the Thoughtseize with Tamiyo. It's probably good. Return Thoughtseize, cast Thoughtseize. Get rid of the Ponder. Pass. That. Oh my god, this game. Oh, this game. I was about to say this game was really good, but we're playing against a champ here. The champ simply doesn't just lose. There's always going to be something. Turn 19. What a banger of a game. And Brian knows this Bowmasters is coming. I'm really happy I didn't click my Tamiyo early, just out of reflex. That was just a good example of if you wait with the Tamiyo until, you know, you have the most info as possible. Oh, what is this? A big guy. Drawing 2 cards, presenting a 5/5. Brian has to beat this Orcish Bowmasters. Force of Will is not an option. Thoughtseize is not an option. Is the champ on his last legs here? Here's Wasteland. Is Daze a magic card? Here's Tamiyo. Is Daze a magic card? That is the question. Is Daze a magic card? Let's take this up. So what's the alternative? Is playing around Daze. If I play around Daze and I kill the Wanshi Tong, then Tamiyo has to chum block. How do I like that? And I give my opponent 1 more turn where they have to deal with Baragoyf and this card. Is my opponent a Daze deck? Too many Bayous and stuff for that, I think. All right, I'll try it. Bowmasters worked, and we're done here. What a cool set of games. I can't wait to break it all down with Brian in just a moment. All right, guys, we're back with the debrief after a very cool basement battle. We brought 6 sweet decks and had some games of, let's say, varying quality, but still pretty cool.
I don't know how decks.
Okay, good point. A little bit of a double dredge action going on. Yeah, I guess let's try and unpack the first match. So I can start because I feel like the ball was kind of in my court in that matchup of Dredge versus, what would you call that deck? It's like a Killer Bee special in my book, but what do you call it?
Yeah, I got to make this joke on my video already. It's Riddler combo, which is funny because now it's Quantum Riddler, but it used to be Riddler Smith. And the fact that 2 different cards named Riddler have at different points been the engine card of the combo is just really funny. I was kind of hoping to get all 8 when I was sent the deck list by my patrons, but you know, you take as many riddles as you can get. But yeah, like
absolutely.
Riddler wheel combo, the Killer Bee deck, I suppose is a fair way to call it for people who know the source.
Absolutely. So I was loving life. So I have land, pedal, bunch of, you know, draws to get going. No dredger, so I have to hit a dredger on the first, I think it was Otherworldly Gaze. But the key move here was, which land do I fetch? So you were on a multi 5, so I fetched Basic Island, right? So now this means I'm now resilient to Wasteland, but Wasteland is typically not very good in your multi 5, which was kind of the logic that I figured out, after casting my first Gaze. And this ends up mattering a lot because I could draw my whole deck, but no mountain for the Anger. And I have to pass the turn into a crucial turn where I will say happily, I love that you found the man. It's a lot more fun when you found the pedal, right? So, and then you were off to the races. So I just talked a lot about the fact that Memphis Van Gogh would certainly not have let that game slip, but just how experience and stuff like that can guide you through. So I think that was very, very cool. And how consistent is your deck once you start getting to go off like from 0 mana with an artist's talent in play and stuff like that? Maybe walk it through from your side. How did that game feel?
Yeah, I haven't played a bunch of reps with that deck. That's not since Quantum Riddler replaced Riddler Smith as the Riddler in the deck. It's been maybe years since I played that deck, but
sure.
It certainly felt like as soon as I could do anything, I could do everything. And it's you have to stop me from doing anything, because if I'm off, it's over. And we saw the full strength of it kick in eventually, but even just resolving the artist talent and passing the turn felt insanely powerful. Like, there was definitely 7, maybe 11 draws in the deck that just pop off immediately. I'd have to look at the list and fully remind myself what all my outs were.
You're talking about basically all zeros at that point, right?
I don't think Opal was on, but I have 4 petals.
But Opal lets you loot, right? Loot the...
Right. It lets me... I only had 2 mana, and it wasn't blue. So
so you needed... Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
I had Urza Saga plus red Chrome Mox. So I have to hit a blue source that is also a spell. So it's the 3 remaining LEDs and the 4 petals. There might be some sequences where, like, if I draw one of the other 3 Chrome Moxes, I can get lucky enough to discard the Echo and loot into a different blue card to exile, and then I'm on. Or like, that's a second look at the LED or petal. So there's some rebuys, but really it was a 7-outer to just go nuts, and I hit one of them.
Yeah, and we love to see that. That's sometimes I frequently talk about. It's like, oh yeah, thank God I pressed record, right? Because those games, and when you do it enough, they're not really unique anymore, but they seem unique when they happen, and that was just very, very cool. And it was just a simple line of, hey, I'll fetch Volcanic Island. This guy will not have the luxury to have Wasteland in his 5, and if he does, I still get to tap it once, and I have my pedal. So I think an experienced stretch player gets that over the line, but this was a lot cooler to see, I must say. That was very, very sweet.
It was good for content.
Yeah, great for content, absolutely. So game 2 was, when I pressed submit, I was like, I've been talking for 30 seconds about this is not a leyline deck because bad reasons, and then I'm like, well, that artist talent card might just be the reason that it is a leyline deck, because that is like a way to get rid of bad mid-game draws. So I realized that, and you have an action pre-game, and unfortunately that was a little bit too late for me to do anything about.
Yeah, and this happens to me all the time on camera, where I think about 98% of the things I need to think about. I click the button, and then my spell's on the stack, and I'm like, oh, well, what about blank? Yeah. And then blank happens, and it sounds like you got there with the Volcanic Island and with the ley line, and it just, you thought about almost everything you needed to think about, and then got punished by the one thing you didn't.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot about realizing it in time, right? Because I frequently talk to players about, oh yeah, and then when you're in the lunch line, you realize what you should have done 20 minutes ago, right? So it's just a latency between digging it out of the toolbox and getting there. So that's the challenge with Magic, having it available real time, right? And then be on top of everything. But yeah, great showcases of that. Unfortunately, not a lot of airtime for that match, but it was some high octane stuff for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, when my Patreon are sickos. They like 2 things. They like grindy Uro Titan of Nature's Wrath 55-minute match nonsense, and they like 0 turn nonsense. And I got 2 in 1 sent to me this time through the voting, and the next match was kind of the same, where it was me dredging, and it was funny.
Oh yeah,
game 1, when you cast your Otherworldly Gaze that you led on, I was like, oh no, we're both aware and fans of Mafouche Van Gogh.
Oh yeah, oh absolutely. So I found that very very funny. Where I just have like a generic hand with no force essentially, and I think let's see, you play first and are you just off to the races with the perfect turn one? Yeah, I think you are. Like
you did not get a turn that
looting,
game.
LED, yes. So I, with therapies, strategically, I have to concede here because I don't have a comeback with my control deck, right? So that informs you in some way, but not, all, not all that much, but still something, right? I have a decent sideboard with a couple of graveyard hates, but a million blasts that are alive, and negations, Thoughtseize, stuff like that. And I think you trivially power through Thoughtseize, Force and Negation, and I feel like in a surgical, just no problem at all, because that's basically how the dredge deck works. Maybe talk a little bit about how that is different than Oops or Reanimator, or because dredge is a little bit weird.
Yeah, I've been saying for years from the fair blue side, you should counter literally anything that you can. If your opponent puts a counterable spell on the stack and you have a counter for it, use it. There is nothing to be clever about, and there will be a point where it turns and they won't cast any spells anymore, or they won't cast spells that can be conventionally interacted with. So if they just, turn one Lion's Eye Diamonds on the stack, force, consign to memory, like spell pierce, whatever I got, fight over anything. There is nowhere to be clever. Like the turn one, like you Force of Negation to Cabal Therapy, and I was like, yes, that's the first spell I've cast this game, and he has a force, he should use it. And any little thing that can be done should be done, because their engine is so contrary to Magic the Gathering, which is what control decks are built to play. And once I'm dredging, even if it's a slow dredge, I'm kind of drawing between 2 and 6 cards a turn, even if I can't use them in ways that are conventional, and control decks don't keep up with that.
And this game was even more interesting because I Thoughtseize, I take your 0 mana card, because if you want to play your Cabal Therapy as a discard outlet, you also have to commit a land, which then puts you further away from cleanup. Funnily enough, I was saying, is Brian good enough to just say go here with 7 cards? No, I think this is like too tempting to just play the therapy, right? So, did you ever consider just saying go there with 7 cards, or like what went through your mind there? Because it was not a trivial play, right?
Well, I drew Breakthrough for turn, which completely changes. If my hand is just 4 lands and 2 dredgers, maybe I'll try to wait it out and do something. But
yes,
once I draw Breakthrough, I would like to get something going.
Absolutely. So I obviously liked that you played the therapy, because that was kind of I talked about it as like a double to triple time walk situation. If I can get you to not do anything. But with that being said, any like looting, no, you didn't have red mana that game, so that's not true. It's basically any Breakthrough or Gaze can get you going, which, I had to kind of take that chance, but then you eventually get there with Breakthrough. And the point is, you had Cephalid Colosseum as kind of the reason that nothing could resolve, not even LED, because then you can Black Lotus the LED and start, to use your Bazaars, for the lack of a better word.
Right.
So just very, very cool, compact strategical stuff, but very, very cool in my opinion. It's kind of unique, and I can see why Memphis wins so many games, because I was for sure not comfortable playing it nor playing against it in this set.
Yeah, and he's a great brewer and a great face of the deck, because he's willing to change the deck fundamentally week to week and meta to meta. There are meta games where I'm confident that my deck, where I can lightning bolt my own creature in game 1 to kill all the bridges, I can Force of Will the Lion's Eye Diamond, and then I get to a spot where like my Triumph of St. Catherine is bigger than the Poxwalkers and we're okay. I can thread needles if I know the entire 60, but if I don't know the 60 and it's not a Bridge from Below build, or it's a build with 4 Poxwalkers instead of 2, or it's a build with 4 Lotus Petal to support the 4 LED,
or
and they're faster than
I've even seen him play Daze and Force.
Yeah, the Daze and the Force of Will. That was something I checked when in our game 1, when 49 of your cards were already face up. I was like, I'm going to check for forces to see if I need to think about anything here. And no, I don't. We're off. So
Great point about, like with Oops and Breakfast and stuff, you kind of research Doomsday, kind of research what kind of build are we up against. That's a good one.
Yeah, and it's a great lane that Mafouche specifically is in, because he's the only one doing it, and he's doing it very well. And if you even know that there is a person out there crushing with Dredge, you don't know what list that person is on or specifically how to fight it. And it's a cool little spot that he has carved out for himself. And yeah, I was saying on the Eternal Glory podcast for months, if Entomb gets banned and graveyard decks have to go to loots, like the Careful Studies and the Faithless Lootings and stuff, and play a critical mass of those, and enough monsters to loot away reliably, why isn't that deck just going to be Dredge at that point? And I mean, Dredge looks really good.
Yeah, Dredge is awesome. And it's also, you kind of need to play Dredge when, Oops is a little bit down. Like, you don't want to get hit by all the splash damage, right? So there's a little bit of that going on where you have to keep track of that, I would imagine, from the Dredge side. I guess for Mathis, it doesn't matter too much, but for, other players to pick it up as a strategy. Then last up, Brian, we had a very cool showdown between, I played the Dimir Reanimator. I thought you would appreciate that one as bringing that to the table, a deck that you know very well. You obviously played it at a couple of Eternal Weekends. Haven't probably talked about it a lot on your channels and community. I still like that deck a lot. I tweaked it a tiny bit, put in the third Tainted Indulgence and the fourth Bowmasters in the sideboard and second Bitter Triumph in the main. Small changes. And I got to do my thing. Game one, I highlighted from my side the fact that you countered my Brainstorm there is a play that you need some kind of a knowledge about the deck to make. I can't say I've played against many others who have done it, but that was very heads up. I was lucky to have a second barrel there. So yeah, maybe talk to me a little bit about this Sultai deck, because it looked like a Highlander deck aside from two Cubs in game one.
Yeah, that was a 64 card Sultai Green Sun Zenith toolbox deck, and it comes from a player from my Patreon who brews, has fun playing Magic, but generally does think about things and do things with intention. So when I was sent a 64 card deck from him, I was like, all right, I'll trust you, even though I'm suspicious. But yeah, it was just a mild Zenith package. There's only 3 Zeniths. It's not even maxing out on that. And it just has a bunch of cool green creatures and then all of the blue and black spells I like playing. And
yeah,
it's just a pile of good cards.
I was like, how does this guy fits all of these cards? Like Baragoyf in your Zenith package, trying to support Force of Will. And that was a lot of like old school favorites coupled with some new stuff and some toolbox stuff. I feel like those games were very cool, especially the second one. I mean, come on, turn 20 showdown where you're fighting for your life, trying to manage graveyards with the Cling under Bowmasters most of the time, Baragorth breathing down your neck. Like, talk to me about, like, you're playing that game to prolong it. Did you have did you know what was at the end of that rainbow, or were you just fighting? Or, like, talk to me about that, because you were on the heels.
Yeah, it was... first, I just want to note in game one, like, you put an Atraxa into play, I didn't answer it, pretty standard stuff, but I had Icetail Explorer in play, and the 3 turns Atraxa was in play, I drew for turn a blank, played a land, milled, grist, and then the next turn I drew a blank, played a land, milled Assassin's Trophy, and then the next turn I milled some other I milled Sheoldred's Edict. Yeah, I milled 3 answers to Atraxa in a row after drawing 3 blanks in a row. And if I just, like, it's one of those games where this is not really useful Magic theory. It's just kind of like a mystical thought where if I could see the future, if I were an omniscient being, I would simply not have played a land, and then I would have drawn 3 removal spells in a row and easily won that game. Instead of, like, I draw the removal spell, mill the land, draw the removal spell, mill the land. But, obviously that's nonsense, but it is just funny that, life has that sense of humor. But yeah, game 2, it was... like, at some point, I'm looking at the number of cards in your deck. I'm thinking about what threats you even play. Like, there's some critical mass where your deck can't win anymore. And when I eventually drew that Endurance, I had to think really hard whether, like, getting ahead of your Murktide Regents was worth refilling your entire deck that I've worked so hard to take apart. And it was, for a long time, it was just like that Barrowgoyf was just sitting in play. And if I answer that, we're back to stability. My life's low, but I think my deck plays from that spot maybe better than yours. Like, I have big hits like Uro and Green Sun Zenith or Zenith 4 Uro that can unlock that. And that game was pretty close, pretty competitive for a very long time. A lot longer than it felt like it should have. And good job adding the 4th Bowmaster, because you needed 5 or 6 of them to win that game. And it was exactly Bowmaster at the end that got it done.
Yeah, it was so cool with the Cling to Dust that the draw mode on that card was kind of shut down by Bowmasters, but then you could start managing my graveyard. So I had a reanimated rotation from an early kind of bad brainstorm, but you didn't basically never I think I end up reanimating a Bowmasters, but you end up getting rid of like Barrowgoyf, while bolstering your life total and prolonging the game. It was a really it was probably more on the edge than I gave it credit for at the time, because the way you're talking about it now, it seems like, if you deal with that Barrowgoyf and do anything proactively, I'm actually a little bit in trouble here, especially with how my deck is set up with, like, fair versus fair, you have the edge. My edge is that you could be overestimating my reanimation ability. Old school reanimator logic here of 80% tempo, whatever we want to call it, post sideboard. So that was a very, very sweet game, and you managed the size of the Barrowgoyf really nicely. I think in the end I had a turn where I found a ponder, and then what to do to build the Barrowgoyf bigger. I couldn't find the Bredo Lion, then get you to 1, and then have the Bowmasters left over. And then think on the last turn, we're down to a Daze Bluff, I think. Like, you wasteland me, and we're down to whether.
Oh yeah, I'm just dead there, and I'm gonna let you play your Bowmaster and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, and funnily enough, I had a fatal push. So I had another play, which was like kill a blocker, attack with force the chump block, keep playing the game, trying to beat the imaginary Daze. But I was like, this is a double Bayou. You had double Bayou Forest in play. This is not a Daze deck. So I connected the dots and went for it here. I think that was just somewhat of a useful example of, let's not play around ghosts when we play Magic. It's good to have awareness, but let's not play around ghosts, right?
Right.
I loved it. I got my ass handed to me the first couple of matches, and then the last one, the big showdown, that's when I got on to the board. So I'm happy with today's run out. How did you like my let's say the competitiveness of the decks? I have heard a little bit of whispers about those being uneven at times, according to some people. For me, it's not a problem. I think it's cool in both directions to be, David Goliath. How did you like it today?
Yeah, I thought it was appropriate. Obviously, we agreed on Dredge fitting the brief because we both selected it, and then
right.
I did feel mildly disrespected by selecting my Eternal Weekend deck as an off-meta challenge showcase like that.
Yeah,
I mean, you're not wrong, but you don't have to say it, But
yeah.
No,
I thought it was funny, right? Because only crazy guys think that deck is viable, and we are two of those crazy guys. So there's a little bit of a narrative going on there that I couldn't pass up.
Right, yeah, and I like that this one ended up. We've said a lot about Mafush Van Gogh and the great work he's doing, and although Dredge is not a top meta deck, there is an excellent pilot doing excellent work with it. The same is true about James Casal with that Grixis deck, and if there's one mad genius out there who keeps winning with a deck that no one else can buy a win with, then there's something happening there. And we featured also the Reanimator deck that you and I like, James Casal's Grixis deck, Mafush Van Gogh's Dredge deck. That was 4 of the 6 decks showcased were from specialists who worked really hard to figure it out. And although it's off meta, it doesn't mean it's bad. And that's a good lesson.
That's a good. Yeah, I like that a lot, highlighting that it's only as stale as you make it out to be. It's just a taller mountain to climb. So just get to work if you feel strongly about a certain archetype and make the most of it. That's for sure my message as well. I echo that sentiment.
Yeah, I agree. Cool. Anything else to say, or can we get out of here?
No, I think we did a good job clowning enough, and then doing a recap afterwards. I think I'm happy for today. So thanks so much for your time, Brian.
Yep. All right. And that's been the basement challenge for January 2026. New meta, new year. If you watched on my side, go check out Andreas, his side of the matches. If you watched over there, come check out Bosch and Roll, and we'll see you for the next one.